Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some massive news coming out Tuesday morning for Mike Elko. The Texas A&M Aggies coming out of the recruiting trail. Five-star offensive tackle Lamont Rogers making it official, committing to Texas A&M. This is a kid we've talked about a lot over the last couple of months. In my opinion, the most physically imposing offensive lineman that you see in this 2025 cycle. 6'6.5", 311 pounds. We're going to turn on some of the film. I mean, he just moves bodies off the line of scrimmage. You look at what Texas A&M wants to do specifically on the offensive side of the football. That's probably what sold Lamont Rogers on Texas A&M. And this is a road grader in the run game that not only is going to be a really good offensive tackle for Texas A&M, I think fits exactly what Texas A&M wants to do on the offensive side of the football. And, one of the things I love ever since Mike Elko has gotten to College Station, one, he is doing a great job on the recruiting trail, but more importantly, he's building this roster how he wants it to look. And you take a look at this 2025 class, really the first full recruiting class that Mike Elko and the staff is responsible for. You got 4 defensive linemen. You got 7 guys on the offensive line. That is 11 line of scrimmage players for Texas A&M in this 2025 cycle. Damn near half of the 2025 class, they're going to be line of scrimmage players, and it sounds like Texas A&M might not even be done in the 2025 cycle. I want to get into Lamont Rogers, one of my favorite offensive tackles in this 2025 cycle, then talk about where Texas A&M could go in the 2025 class. Now, before we get into it, as always, actually to the Texas A&M fans, when I got the notification on my phone that Lamont Rogers committed to Texas A&M, I was currently working on a transfer portal target list for Texas A&M, so that'll be out in the next couple of days. It's going to be busy, and the Texas A&M fans, y'all have shown a ton of love to the boys. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into Lamont Rogers. And again, it starts with the physical traits and really the physicality that Lamont Rogers brings to this Texas A&M offensive line. And really, let's start with this. I think Adam Cushing did a phenomenal job with this Texas A&M offensive line. I thought we had some real concerns about Texas A&M's offensive line heading into 2024. I think they all played better than what we expected them to do, but I still don't think the personnel is quite there in terms of what Mike Elko wants this offensive line to look like. He's making those changes on the high school trail. So not only do you have an offensive line coach in Adam Cushing, who I think is dang good at his job and is getting it going on the recruiting trail, developing these players on this roster. I think more importantly, Mike Elko kind of realizes that, look, it's really hard to build an offensive line in the transfer portal. If you want to build a good offensive line, you think about some of the best offensive lines that we see in the country, at Texas or at Michigan the last couple of years, or at Texas or at Georgia. There's no transfers on those offensive lines. They're all guys that have been recruited and developed and have played multiple seasons together. That's how Mike Elko wants it to look. And so you're seeing him get that done on the high school recruiting trail, bringing in 7 offensive linemen. Texas A&M maybe goes to the transfer portal and adds 1 or 2 this offseason, but after this year, like Texas A&M won't have to go to the transfer portal to recruit offensive line and grab offensive linemen because they have a young pile of offensive linemen that are going to be developed in the system. That matters. It's going to allow Texas A&M to operate in the transfer portal a little bit more effectively, and I think it allows them to have it in elite caliber offensive line, which is very clearly how Mike Elko wants to build this program. Now, you get into Lamont Rogers, it's so easy to fall in love with this kid. And you start with so physically imposing off the line of scrimmage. And I guess what we should have started with is that you're going to see him just consistently move people off the line of scrimmage. He's really, really big, but he's a really good athlete for the size. He's a really good basketball player, and he's also got a soccer background. And so you see a big body, and a lot of times when you see these bodies that are this big, and he looks maybe even a little heavier than 310 pounds, you see them struggle as athletes a little bit more. And they might just win because of their sheer size at the high school level, but they ain't that good athletes. Lamont Rogers blends that elite size with long arms and big hands with really, really good feet. That is something you're going to know. And again, he just fires off the line of scrimmage at such a high level and just displaces bodies. And you saw Texas A&M. What have they struggled with? What's been a big bugaboo for Texas A&M in this 2024 season? Those short yardage situations. And yeah, I think not having Le'Veon Moss in the back half of the season certainly hurt that. But you've seen some times on the offensive line where we just got to get a little bit more movement. Look no further than Lamont Rogers. I mean, one of the things that I really like about Lamont Rogers too, works up to the second level. It's hard to find offensive linemen that are this big that can work up to linebackers and safeties. Lamont Rogers can do that. And when he gets hands on you, those hands are absolutely devastating. He's got long arms. He's got big hands. He's got a lot of power in those hands. And when he gets hands on opposing defense players, whether they're defensive linemen, whether they're linebackers, he's going to put them in the ground and he's going to shock them. This is a perfect fit for me. I think Lamont Rogers would be good wherever he goes. But for how you talk about 311 pounds pulling to the play side like this, that's some special stuff. And then finding linebacker, finding work, and then putting the linebacker in the ground. This is a really good football player that would have been good wherever he goes. I think what you love is that he's coming to Texas A&M, a team that wants to run the football and control the line of scrimmage. Nasty, nasty dude with some big-time physical traits, big-time power in the hands. There's so much film of him just getting to the second level and burying second-level defenders. This is a great get. And you look at Texas A&M and where they're going in the 2025 class, I don't think they're quite done. Javion Hilson is a guy to really monitor if you're a Texas A&M fan. Now, Michigan's making a run. Missouri's making a run. Texas A&M has been in there for Javion Hilson really ever since he decommitted from Alabama and Florida State. And so Javion Hilson, a guy that is a twitched up edge rusher that can really get after the passer, another line of scrimmage player that Texas A&M is trying to fill their 2025 class with, another guy that I think is a big, I wouldn't say concern for Texas A&M, but a position you want to get better as your playmakers on the outside. We kind of talked all year. You want to see some more, really dangerous pieces around the quarterback position. Look no further than Jerome Miles, 5-star wide receiver from Utah, was committed to USC, backs off his commitment. It sounds like it's trending in Texas A&M's direction. Now, he's not going to sign in the early period, so there's some work to still be done if you're Texas A&M over the next couple of weeks, but he's trending to Texas A&M. And if I were to sell the Texas A&M fans on Jerome Miles, 6'2", 210, 10.3, 6 and 100-meter dash, size speed combination, absolutely off the charts with this kid. One of the higher ceilings that you're going to see in the 2025 cycle. And he's been extremely productive when he's not been hurt at the high school ranks. And the last name I'd probably keep an eye on is Michael Fasusi. Now, Lamont Rogers coming. Maybe that helps Texas get the flip in. Maybe he just stays with Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M. Texas A&M has worked really, really hard on this one as well, kind of similar to Lamont Rogers. And if you're Mike Elko, it's been pretty clear what you're valuing. You're valuing offensive linemen. And so I don't think there's a program that's recruiting Michael Fasusi harder than Mike Elko and Texas A&M. We'll kind of see how that plays out as well. But the thing I love the most is, one, you're getting a really good player here with Lamont Rogers. You're getting a really good fit in terms of what Texas A&M wants to do. And I think lastly, you're seeing Mike Elko, I think personally, recruit the high school ranks the way you should. Look, you can go get wide receivers. You can go get running backs in the transfer portal. It's really hard to build an offensive line through the transfer portal because everybody wants an offensive lineman, and there's just not that many good ones that hit the portal. Get them at the high school ranks. Develop them within your program. That's seemingly, 7 offensive linemen is an absurd number in 2025. This is what Mike Elko wants it to look like. We'll pause it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.